The universe was ending, and Amara had 30 seconds to stop it. Her hands slammed onto the alien interface as reality tore apart around her. Tendrils of absolute nothing reached for her face, close enough that she could feel existence itself unraveling. Behind her, Kwame was screaming something, but his voice was already being swallowed by the void. She had one chance. One impossible, reckless, very human chance. This is how she got there. Amara's fingers flew across the holographic interface, her dark eyes tracking the cascading data streams that painted the air in brilliant amber light. Outside the reinforced windows of Unity Orbital Station, Earth hung like a jewel against the void, the Western Hemisphere glowing with the megacities that had transformed the planet into humanity's launching point to the stars. Another one, she muttered, flagging an anomaly in the quantum mesh. That's the 5th disruption this week. Her co-pilot, Kwame, looked up from his own console, his augmented reality lenses flickering. The Consortium won't like this. They're already breathing down our necks about the last incident. Amara snorted. The Galactic Consortium, a collection of 12 advanced alien species that had invited humanity into the interstellar community 3 decades ago, treated humans like children playing with their parents' tools. The fact that humanity had gone from first contact to building quantum drives in a single generation seemed to terrify them more than impress them. She pulled up the analysis. The quantum communication mesh that connected Earth to the broader galaxy was the Consortium's greatest achievement, a network that allowed instantaneous communication across light years. Humanity had been granted limited access 5 years ago, and Unity Station served as Earth's primary node. But something was wrong. The disruptions weren't random noise. They were patterns, deliberate patterns. Kwame, she said slowly, run a linguistic analysis on these fluctuations. Linguistic? Amara. It's just... He stopped as his screen populated with results. Oh hell. 2 words emerged from the chaos. Help us. That's impossible, Kwame breathed. The only species that uses that frequency range are the founders. Amara finished. The Ctherii, the Consortium's eldest species and its architects. They had been the ones to invite humanity into the stars, speaking of potential and promise. They had also been the ones to impose the harshest restrictions on human expansion. And they had gone silent 6 months ago, vanished from Consortium space without explanation. Amara's heart raced as she pulled up every disruption from the past month. More words emerged, fractured and desperate. They come. The void. We were wrong. Humans must. The door. Only solution. We need to report this, Kwame said, already reaching for the Consortium frequency. Wait. Amara grabbed his wrist. Think about it. The Ctherii go dark for 6 months. Now, they're sending us coded messages, and they're using human language, not Consortium standard. Why? Because they don't want the Consortium to know. Exactly. Amara pulled up a star chart, highlighting the region where the Ctherii homeworld resided, deep in what the Consortium called the neutral zone, an area of space they declared off-limits to all member species. Whatever's happening, they came to us, not the other 11 species with centuries more experience. Us. Kwame leaned back. You're thinking of going there. I'm thinking humanity didn't come this far by following the rules. Amara's eyes gleamed. We went from the Bronze Age to spacefaring in 5,000 years. We survived world wars, climate collapse, and first contact without losing ourselves. The Consortium treats us like we're reckless and dangerous. We are reckless and dangerous. Exactly. And maybe that's exactly what the Ctherii need. 8 hours later, the Defiance, humanity's fastest quantum-capable interceptor, detached from Unity Station on what the official logs called a routine maintenance patrol. In reality, Amara had loaded the ship with enough firepower to level a small moon and plotted a course that would take them far from authorized space. Commander Chun is going to have you court-martialed for stealing her ship, Kwame said from the weapons station. Amara grinned as she pushed the throttle forward. She'll understand. Eventually, the quantum drive hummed to life, reality rippling around them as they punched through normal space. The Defiance shuddered. then shot forward at speeds that would have seemed like magic to their ancestors. 3 days to the neutral zone, Kwame said, checking their trajectory. Plenty of time for the consortium to notice we're gone. Then we'd better move fast when we get there. Amara spent those 3 days decoding the Ktherii messages while Kwame ran combat simulations. A picture emerged, terrifying in its implications. The Void, an intelligence from beyond the galactic rim, ancient and hungry. They had been coming for millennia, consuming civilizations, leaving behind only empty worlds and silence. The Ktherii had known about them for centuries, and had built the consortium as a defense, uniting the younger species under their protection. But the Void had adapted, and the Ktherii's defenses were failing. Why us? Kwame asked as they reviewed the data. Why reach out to the newest, least advanced species? Amara stared at the tactical display, at the spreading map of lost civilizations. Then she saw the pattern. Every lost world had been advanced, stable, following established protocols. Because we're different, she said. We're chaos. We improvise. We don't have centuries of doctrine telling us what's possible. She pulled up Earth's history, the countless times humanity had faced extinction and survived through sheer stubborn creativity. We're the species that split the atom, that cracked faster than light travel in a decade when the consortium said it would take us a century. That reverse-engineered alien tech like we were hot wiring cars. The consortium thinks that makes us dangerous. The Ktherii think it makes us hope. On the 3rd day, they dropped out of quantum space at the edge of the neutral zone, and all hell broke loose. Contact! Kwame shouted as proximity alarms shrieked. Multiple hostile signatures. Wait, those aren't ships. On the view screen, things moved through space. Not ships, not anything physical. They were tears in reality itself, voids in the shape of something predatory, and they were closing fast. Evasive. Amara yanked the controls hard, and the Defiant spun, narrowly avoiding a tendril of nothing that lashed through space where they'd been. Where it passed, stars simply ceased to exist. Weapons hot. Kwame's fingers danced across his console. Firing. Plasma cannons lit up the void, but the bolts passed through the creatures, if they were creatures, without effect. Missiles detonated harmlessly against nothing. They're not matter, Amara shouted over the alarms. They're tears in space-time. Conventional weapons won't work. Another tendril lashed toward them. Amara threw the Defiance into a barrel roll that would have torn apart a lesser ship, her hands moving with the practiced precision of countless combat hours. The tendril missed by meters. Then what will work? Kwame demanded. Amara's eyes fell on the quantum drive readout. The drive worked by creating localized distortions in space-time. If these things were rips in reality itself. Overload the quantum drive, she shouted. Create a shockwave. That could tear us apart. Better than being erased from existence. Do it. Kwame slammed his fist on the emergency override. The quantum drive screamed, building energy far beyond safe parameters. The Defiance shook like it was coming apart. Now, Amara yelled. Kwame released the energy in a controlled burst. Reality itself rippled outward from their ship like waves on a pond. Where the shockwave hit the void creatures, they recoiled, their tendrils withdrawing. It worked, Kwame shouted. It actually worked. Don't celebrate yet. We've got maybe 30 seconds before they adapt. Amara punched the throttle, and the Defiance shot forward, weaving through the dissipating void creatures. Hang on. They flew like humanity had always flown, with more courage than sense, threading between cosmic horrors at speeds that made Kwame's stomach lurch. Amara's hands were steady on the controls, her eyes bright with the same wild determination that had sent humans to the stars in the first place. And then they were through, diving toward a massive structure orbiting what remained of the Ktherii homeworld. Half the planet was simply gone, erased by the same terrible nothing they'd just escaped. That structure, it's still powered, Kwame said, reading energy signatures off the charts. Then, that's where we're going. Amara guided the battered Defiance toward a docking portal that irised open as they approached. They landed hard, the ship's systems groaning. "Suits on," Amara ordered, already moving. "And bring the heavy weapons. Whatever we're walking into, I want options." They geared up. Pulse rifles, plasma sidearms, tactical armor that had been built for human special forces. Overkill for a diplomatic mission. Perfect for whatever this was turning into. The interior of the structure was vast, built for the Cthulhu's towering forms. Emergency lighting cast everything in shades of blue, and waiting in the central chamber was a single Cthulhu. She was ancient, her crystalline carapace dulled with age, her 6 limbs moving with careful precision. But her 4 luminous eyes held fierce intelligence. "I am Sarah," she said, her voice resonating through translation devices. "Last of the 17, final guardian of the beacon. Thank you for answering, children of Earth." Amara stepped forward, rifle lowered but ready. "We came because you asked for help. Now tell us what the hell those things outside were, and how we kill them." Sarah led them deeper into the beacon, past technology that made human quantum drives look primitive. As they walked, she spoke. "The void is older than galaxies. It exists in the spaces between realities, feeding on consciousness itself. The more advanced a species becomes, the brighter they shine in its perception. So you built a consortium to hide us," Kwame said, "to make us less noticeable." "Yes. We taught you all to follow protocols, to limit your signatures, to expand quietly. For 1,000 years, it worked." Sarah's limbs gestured, and holographic images appeared. Vast shapes moving through the darkness between stars. But the void evolved. It learned to recognize the patterns of civilizations trying to hide. "And now it's hunting anyone who knows it exists," Amara said. "That's why you were hit first." "Correct. And soon it will consume the rest of the consortium. All who learned our careful ways." Sarah stopped before a massive door. "But there's a way to fight back. The void feeds on predictability, on patterns. It cannot easily consume true chaos." The door split open, revealing a chamber beyond. In its center sat a device that hurt to look at, its geometry existing in dimensions Amara's brain couldn't process. Around it, defensive turrets tracked their movement, and force fields crackled with barely contained energy. "This is the last door," Sarah said. "A weapon we've spent centuries building. It can seal the boundary between our reality and where the void dwells. But activation requires a mind capable of true unpredictability, one not trained in our protocols, one that operates on instinct and improvisation." "A human mind," Kwame said quietly. Before Sarah could respond, alarms blared. The structure shook, and through the crystalline walls, they saw the void creatures converging on the beacon. "They're here." Sarah's voice was urgent. "They followed you. We must activate the door now, or—" The wall exploded inward. "Down!" Amara tackled Sarah as debris filled the air. A void creature pushed through the breach, reality unraveling around it like rotting fabric. Kwame opened fire, his pulse rifle spitting bolts of superheated plasma. They passed through the creature, harmlessly. "Nothing's working. The defenses." Sarah gestured frantically. "Activate the turrets." Amara rolled, came up running. She reached a control panel and slammed her hand down. The defensive turrets swiveled, firing beams of quantum-distorted energy, the same principle that had saved them in space. Where the beams struck the void creature, it recoiled, but more were coming. The chamber filled with tears in reality, reaching for them with tendrils of absolute nothing. Sarah, Amara shouted over the chaos. "How do I activate the door?" "Place your hands on the interface. Open your mind. But you must understand, the process is irreversible. Your consciousness will become the foundation of the seal." A tendril lashed past Amara's head, so close she felt reality tear next to her ear. She looked at the last door, then at Kwame, who was laying down, covering fire as he retreated toward her position. No time for debate. She sprinted toward the door, dodging void tendrils that left gouges in the floor where they struck. A turret exploded beside her, showering her with fragments. She kept running. Amara, wait. Kwami's voice was desperate, but she'd already made her choice. She was human. This is what humans did. She slid the last few meters, slammed her hands on the interface, and screamed as the universe exploded inside her skull. Pain like nothing she'd ever known. Her consciousness fragmenting, multiplying, expanding until she existed in 1,000 places at once. She felt the quantum mesh stretching across the galaxy, felt every node, every connection. And beyond it, in the spaces between spaces, she felt the void. It was vast, patient, hungry. It had consumed 1,000,000 civilizations and would consume 1,000,000 more. But Amara was not about to become statistics. She felt the last door activating, felt her consciousness being woven into reality itself. The device used her thoughts, her memories, her chaos as a template. Every improvised combat maneuver, every time she'd bent the rules, every moment of wild human creativity. She thought of Earth, of humanity's stubborn refusal to lie down and die, of every underdog victory in human history, of the way her species looked at impossible odds and said, "Watch this." And the last door transformed it all into a weapon. The seal erupted from the beacon in waves of impossible energy, spreading across the boundaries of reality. In the chamber, the void creatures recoiled, their tendrils withdrawing. Where the seal touched them, they simply ceased, pushed back into the nothing from which they'd come. Throughout the galaxy, across every world the void had been preparing to consume, the seal spread like a cosmic immune response. A barrier built from pure human chaos, unpredictable and unconquerable. For the first time in eons, the void encountered something it couldn't understand. The chamber fell silent except for the hum of the last door. Kwami lowered his rifle, staring at the device where Amara had been standing. "Amara," his voice cracked. "Amara, I'm here." Her voice came from everywhere and nowhere, echoing through the chamber. "I'm different, but I'm here. What did you do?" "What humans always do." And despite everything, there was laughter in her voice. The impossible. 6 months later, Kwami stood before the Consortium Council. They listened in stunned silence as he explained what had happened. How Amara had activated the last door. How a human had saved them all. "This changes nothing," the VRYNN representative said coldly. "Humanity remains reckless. This incident proves our concerns were justified." "No." Teach Sarah's voice crackled through the speakers. "This proves we were wrong. We try to make the younger species safe by making them like us, ordered, careful, predictable. But that was our bias, not wisdom." She gestured at the star chart, at the seal that now protected their galaxy. "Humanity's chaos saved us all. Their refusal to accept the impossible gave us a future. Perhaps it is time we stopped trying to tame them and instead learned from their beautiful madness." The council erupted in argument, but Kwami noticed something. The younger species were nodding, looking at humanity with new eyes. Later, back at Unity Station, Kwami stood at the observation window. Commander Chun, who had chewed him out for 3 hours before quietly recommending him for a commendation, stood beside him. "She's still out there," Chun said softly. "Intel says the quantum mesh has been more stable than ever. Weird fluctuations sometimes, but always in our favor. Like someone's watching over it." "She is," Kwami said. "I get messages sometimes. In the data streams." "What does she say?" "Keep being human. Stay chaotic. And don't let anyone tell you what's impossible." Chin smiled. "Sounds like something she'd say." Below them, Earth glowed with 1,000,000 lights. Humanity going about its business with the same creative chaos it always had. Building, dreaming, reaching for stars. And somewhere in the spaces between realities, woven into the fabric of the seal itself, Amara stood guard. The void still pressed against the barrier, still hungered for the light of conscious minds. But could not pass, not while human chaos guarded the door. The galaxy was safe, and humanity, beautiful, reckless, impossible humanity, had saved it by being exactly what they'd always been, themselves.